Oh my gosh.
What?
As soon as I hit record, it's just... Well, that's how you know that it's good. Annalise is eating the meal from this video right now, the leftovers. And it's still good? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So hi, and welcome back to Guild of Gluttony. Thank you guys for all of the kind words on the previous video. I kind of had this epiphany this morning that these videos are like the visual equivalent of the beginning of a recipe, where it gives someone's whole life story before actually telling you about the recipe. But like I said, this is not supposed to be a how-to video, so it's just all the worst parts of a recipe without actually telling you how to do stuff. So I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. And with that, I'll just go ahead and send it to the good stuff. So I realized a few things that I didn't explain in the last video. I wanted to first highlight this set of dice. I got these from my friend Ben, and they are from Kraken Dice. And I just love them how they have this real nice shine to it. Look at it here in the light. And you can see all the different layers as well. Just got a really cool look to it. They've also got a good weight to them. I feel like they don't just roll and keep rolling forever. They just kind of go and stop. I'm pretty notorious for all of my dice just bouncing around when I'm at the table, because the room that we typically play in is concrete and they go all the way across the room. But I wanted to go ahead and roll for the next recipe to see what I'm doing. And so the first one is a D6, and that determines the race, or at least it determines the category. So that's a 5, and I have it all put into a spreadsheet. And so a 5 is the uncommon cuisine, which then from there, I can take it and roll a D12. Looks like I am making Deep Gnome Trillimac Pods, and I have no idea what that is. So I need to crack open the cookbook and read what I'm making next. Before I started this recipe, I needed to go pick up a few things, but not before I reconsidered the option of just doing ASMR again. That's nice. In order to give these videos a bit more flair and to tie it a little bit more to D&D, I wanted to go get some props, and so I headed to the local antique store just to look around. Since I've been wanting to try a bunch of new drinks, I thought that it would be cool to have kind of a fancy, maybe old-fashioned mug that I could drink out of, or even a stein. And they had a lot of variety and a lot of really cool options, but nothing really seemed to be fitting the mood that I was going for. Although one of these days, whenever I'm super rich, I will buy this Louis Armstrong mug. And I was also astonished that they could charge $20 for an empty box. So I just got finished at the antique store. It's very tall. There's 3 stories in this place, and I didn't find much that I had been looking for. I've been looking for a lot of maybe like old utensils or a stein, which is the only thing that I found. And I'm pretty happy with it. It's got a cool looking top. It's got a ship on it. It's a cool look, and I think it'll be cool to have like sodas and stuff in here. Obviously I won't put coffee in it because that won't work. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I'll look other places for different stuff, but for the amount of time that I spent in that place, I'm a little disappointed with the return, but keep my head up and look elsewhere. Now I am at the city market. That's kind of our local farmers market. I'm gonna look for mushrooms. I don't think I can find any cheese here. We'll see how it goes. As it turns out, cheese was the only thing that I was able to find here for this particular recipe. Okay, so that was really good. I actually was able to get a lot more here than I was expecting. I didn't know just the wide variety of stuff that they had to offer here. I thought it was mainly just fresh produce, but I was able to get some cheeses. They had some mushrooms here, but I wasn't sure that they were the kind that I needed. But yeah, I'll definitely be coming back here. I think it actually ended up being a little bit cheaper than getting all of these cheeses at a supermarket. And I think because I was at a deli, I was able to get kind of a smaller amount of them just so it doesn't go to waste, which is a big deal to me. So I like it. It was a great experience, and I'll definitely come back and probably shop here more often. So now that I had a vessel worthy of holding my elixirs and ales, it was time to fill it up and get to work. But not before spending far too long working on camera and lighting angles to try and make these videos look even better.
Thanks for your help.
So for this recipe, it calls for wonton wrappers, which is something that I could go and buy, but I prefer want to, at least for these videos, if I can make something, then I want to go ahead and try my hand at making it. And so I thought it'd be fun to go ahead and try making some wonton wrappers. I'm going to be using a recipe from a YouTube channel called Souped Up Recipes. I will put a link to that in the description of this video. But this girl's name is Mandy, and I've actually used some of her recipes before. We made some balsa buns over the holiday break, and they turned out really good. So I trust her recipes and I trust her taste. So I'll be trying out her recipe this evening. Now, just to give a little bit more information on this actual dish, it calls for wonton wrappers as the top, middle, and bottom crust with layers of mushroom, ragu, and ricotta mixtures in between. And I've worked with all those things before separately, but I've never actually made my own wonton wrappers. And one last important note before you see what happens next, this is actually the first time that I've ever weighed out ingredients for a recipe. Okay, so here is the beauty of YouTube and their closed captioning system, especially when it's auto-generated. I don't know why I went off of this instead of just looking in the description, but the video that I was watching said to add, she said 160. And YouTube thought that said 860. So instead of adding 160 grams of water, I was well on my way to 860 grams of water, which is too much water. I was thinking this is a very soupy dough, so now I get to start over. One minor setback. We got it this time. What's the saying? You gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet? Really? But I'm not making omelets. Salt. And 860. I am adding no more water. Everything was pretty straightforward after that initial catastrophe. I would highly recommend this recipe, but if you are gonna try it, head over to Souped Up Recipes and watch her videos because she gives a lot of really helpful tips on how to do this the right way. Here you get to witness the maiden voyage of our brand new KitchenAid, which we got for Christmas, and we've been very excited for. I actually enjoy kneading dough by hand most of the time, but this recipe was already super complex, so I was happy to save that time. Plus, I was tired from walking around that antique store for 3 hours earlier that day, so I was happy to let the machine do the work this time. This was the perfect opportunity for me to use another one of my new kitchen toys, which was a bench scraper that I got for Christmas. I discovered while I was cutting them that there was a little ruler on each side of the scraper, and you can see here on this second batch, now that I started measuring them, that they came out a lot more uniform. When all was said and done, I was able to freeze about half of them just so we can have them on hand. And I just happened to set aside the perfect number of wonton wrappers for this recipe, and I only had one left over. So I'm back at it again today. I am out here. I need to get the mushrooms just because they have not had those. They haven't had the right ones at any of the places that I have been going to. I also didn't really know what I was looking for. I don't get to cook with mushrooms very often, mainly because my wife doesn't like them. But she said she's willing to try this one, so I'm excited about that. So I didn't really know where to find the specific ones. I guess they're not that rare. I think I might have just not really been looking in the right place. But I know where to find them today, and so I'm on my way to get those right now. We have a little grocery store that's kind of tucked away into the middle of the downtown area, and we don't go there very often, but after going this time, I realized that they have a wider variety than we ever really knew. They were out of cremini mushrooms at the store, but I learned that cremini is just small portobello mushrooms, so I bought those instead. Got a fun little story about while I was buying these mushrooms. I only had 3 items whenever I was checking out. It was portobello mushrooms, I had the shiitake mushroom, or porcini mushrooms, I forget which kind, and then just a thing of vegetable oil just because we were out of that. So I walk up to the checkout and the lady starts ringing me up and she goes, "Oh, what are you making?" And I kind of paused for a second because I can't say, "Oh, obviously, you know, I'm making Deep Gnome Trillimac Pods." And so I was like, "Oh, it's just like a little tart thing." I was like, I forgot the name of it, sorry. And I just kind of described to her what was in it. And I was like, yeah, my dad got me this cookbook and I'm just working on recipes from that. But it's just a little hard to explain in such a brief encounter. Like, yeah, so I'm cooking a fantasy recipe from this game that I like to play. That's not the answer that she was looking for, so I just kind of went with like, I don't know, I forgot the name of it, I don't know what I'm making. This was about the point in the recipe that I was starting to get really excited. I'm a huge fan of cheese, so any recipe that has 3 different kinds of cheese that are combined into one meal is a dream come true for me. And the moment that I started smelling those mushrooms cooking in the skillet, I knew that this was going to be something special. This might be the part that I was most excited about from the very beginning, actually grinding these mushrooms into a powder that I would mix into the ricotta mixture. Again, talking about my new kitchen toys, this processor is actually one of them. In the past, we've had a magic bullet that really didn't blend stuff up very well, so this is nice to have. So a bit more on the actual D&D tie-in with this specific recipe. Trillimac are a type of mushroom that are found in the Underdark, so I feel like there's a lot that I could do there with an adventure. In my head, the Guild of Gluttony is where adventurers can come to get food that is prepared by adventurers themselves. So the idea is that the party would go out looking for these mushrooms in order to cook a meal that an adventurer had ordered. More on that later. Now it's time to actually assemble everything, and this was the part that I was probably most nervous about. Luckily, I was able to find somebody else who's actually made this recipe to give a little bit more clarification where the cookbook was a little bit unclear. And I know what you're thinking, a Dungeons and Dragons book that's not super clear on something? There's no way that's possible. I had the same thought, but here we are. I'm just kidding. I love all of you guys at Wizards of the Coast, and I wish you would please hire me, please. And with all the assembly done, it's time to pop these bad boys in the oven. It's always one of the most satisfying things to me after doing so much food prep on a meal to pop it in the oven, resting assured that the only way for this step in it to screw up is for me to forget that it's even in there. And that's what timers are for. And we wave goodbye, wish it well on its quest, and move on to the dishes. In the Heroes Feast cookbook, there is a section labeled Tips for Magical Cooking, which is an excerpt from the Codex of Eldritch Cuisine. And one of those tips is to clean as you cook, which is especially great for this recipe because if you clean before these come out of the oven, the only thing that you have to clean up afterwards is your plates and the muffin tin that you used. So now for the grand reveal, these things look amazing. They had just this golden brown color to them and the melted cheese on top. It was one of the prettiest foods I feel like I've ever made. And just the smell that hit us whenever we pulled them out of the oven was so good. The thing I couldn't really do with the chicken and dumplings was give it a little cross section, and so I tried it with these, but I ended up just smashing them a little bit. But at least you can see everything that was inside. And so now on to the taste test. All right, ready?
Ready.
Very good.
That's really good. And I don't normally like mushrooms, but that flavor. And the cheese. I'm impressed.
I think I was expecting it to be more gooey, like a cream cheese, but the ricotta is a little more dry. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah.
Like not creamy.
Yeah. It like has that creamy texture, but it's not overly like saturated with cream.
And those mushrooms.
Yeah.
You like them?
I really do.
Really?
And the wonton paper is very crispy. Very good.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah, proud of you.
Man, I like this.
I
And
wonder
the
if
cheese on top. That's the other one.
I dropped some. I wonder if a dipping sauce would be good with these. Like what that would look like.
I don't know. If you have any suggestions.
Comment down below. Or a soup. Pairing
Actually,
it with a soup would be good.
Like a French onion.
Oh, yeah.
You're really good. Very happy with this. Probably will make it again. It's a lot of work, but I'd say well worth it.
Good.
Alright, we're gonna go eat the rest of these right now in one sitting. Admittedly, this is one of the recipes that I overlooked as I was first going through the cookbook, and I'm so glad that I was able to get it pretty early on in this process because now it's got me excited for everything else that's in this cookbook. I'll leave you with the shots of the mini that I printed out for this adventure. It's from a creator on My Mini Factory named Epics and Stuffs, and he's got a lot of really great stuff, so go check him out. So that's it for this one. I really appreciate all the support you guys have been showing me, and I will catch you on the next one.